and his friend Ray Comfort. Tonight on ABC News' Nightline, they will debate two atheists, and Kirk Cameron joins us now from California. You know, I had Richard Dawkins on. He's a bestseller of the, God Delusion, and I think I beat him in the debate because I basically said, look, you cannot explain to me how the world, the Earth, got here. You just don't have it.
He's Bill O'Reilly. Someone who's not a scientist, someone who's a crazy conservative asshole with a warped view of reality, says that he beat Richard Dawkins in an argument about science and how the world was formed. How can you even continue watching this seriously?
You can blather all day long, but you don't have it. So, to me, I'm throwing in with an oversight, a higher power that made everything happen.
Yes, you know what? Let's say, you know what, Richard Dawkins, I don't understand you, so forget about science. I'm gonna go with the whole higher power theory. Yes, well, that really solves a problem. As soon as we say that there's a higher power, we don't continue learning anymore. Because science doesn't assume that there is a higher power, we, human beings ourselves, seek out this knowledge from studying the Earth and the universe. The only thing that is real.
And it was an interesting debate. But I know that I didn't convince Richard Dawkins about anything.
No, you didn't. Because you don't make any sense.
And you're not going to convince these atheists tonight on Nightline, so why bother?
Well, because of the fact that I was once an atheist, so no, I know how they feel and how they think. And when you're confronted with the evidence and you approach it with honesty and sincerity, it's a no-brainer. God exists.
When you approach it with honesty and sincerity, that's when God wins. You're right. Evidence. What does that matter?
And that's what I'm hoping. People who are confused about the subjects because of guys like Dawkins will watch this and go, you know what, this is so simple, a child can understand it.
Yes. It's very simple for a child to understand that there's a giant man in the sky who happens to speak English, and he knows your name and sees everything you do and talks to you telepathically, yet he's never ever really vocally talked to you, nor has he bothered to come down and say, hello, I exist. And the only way you could contact him is through prayer, and you have to make him really happy all the time. And he's always there watching you. He's a great guy. There's all this evil in the world, hurricanes, tsunamis, but whatever. I guess he's just sitting there waiting for something really bad to happen, but I don't know what that is because many bad things have happened. Yeah, let's teach children that. That's more reasonable.
All right, now take your best shot. Say, you're going to have a lot of atheists watching tonight on Nightline.
Yeah.
You have some watching right now.
Yes, that's me.
All right, go ahead. Take your best shot. Convince the atheists there is a deity.
Well, that's quite a challenge. Please watch the entire content.
I'm not going to watch it because all it's going to be is Kirk and his gay friends are going to battle some atheists, and this is what's going to happen. Atheists are going to use reason and logic, and they're going to use nothing.
Tonight, but give me 60 seconds and I'll give it my best shot. I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm looking into a camera lens right now, and I conclude that someone must have made this camera lens. It's pretty complex. Now, you have an eye that has 137 million light-sensitive cells, far more complex than this camera lens. If the camera lens can't come together without a designer, neither can your eye.
Okay, well, he said a mouthful. To someone who thinks that the Earth is 6,000 years old, of course the eye seems like something impossible to make on its own. But first of all, it wasn't just made on its own, and it was made through millions and millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of years of evolution. Small, subtle changes from something as simple as a very light-sensitive area or tissue to something as complex as an eyeball that could take in light. It didn't just happen like that, Kirk. It didn't just happen like that. Nothing just happens like that. It's called evolution. Through millions of years, when you have that much time to work with, you can come up with something like the eye. Clearly, it has happened. Now, as for the camera lens, a camera lens is artificial. It's not natural. Of course someone made it. Your logic, that's a non sequitur.
Design proves to a guy like me that there is a designer.
Oh yeah, so just because something appears designed, let's just assume that there's a designer. Fuck actually studying it for yourself. Let's just assume that everything was made by a god because everything looks like it was designed. Well, you know what? One of the funny things about nature is because organisms adapt to their environment, it seems as though they are designed for it. But that's not the case. It's just because natural selection selects those genes, those genotypes and phenotypes that are advantageous to the organism's survival. So yes, we do have the illusion that we're designed. But we're not.
Nothing becoming something, blowing up and becoming an organized everything, just doesn't fit logic to me.
Of course that doesn't fit logic to you,
Darwin
because
said
that's not how it happened. First of all, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the universe? Are you talking about organisms? The universe, we don't say that it comes from nothing. We don't know how it started yet. But we don't say that it comes from nothing, and we're working on it, unlike you stupid faggot. As for organisms, well, they didn't just come from nowhere. When the planet was created, there were certain types of organic molecules, one of them being that it could replicate itself, DNA, and eventually, through 4 billion years, that's 4,000 million years of evolution, organisms came about. It wasn't just like this, Kirk.
Plus, Darwin said in order to prove evolution, which is the #1 alternative to God, you've got to be able to prove transitional forms, one animal transitioning into another. And all through the fossil record and life, we don't find one of these. A crocoduck.
Jesus Christ, Kirk. What are you doing to me, man? Transitional fossils. Every single fossil you see is transitional. Evolution is a constant flow. It doesn't have checkpoints. Sometimes it slows down when an organism is perfectly adapted and stays like that for tens of millions of years. But every other fossil is a continuous line of evolution. So what specific missing link are you talking about? They're all links. We're all cousins.
There's just nothing like it.
You're a fag, Kirk, and you suck ass.
There is no one animal
so
transitioning into another.
You can poke holes
It's
in the
very simple.
evolutionary process, and you can poke holes, as I did, in the Big Bang Theory, or whatever crazy thing they're trotting out here.
Oh, Jesus, the arrogance. The ignorance and the arrogance. Yes. Around 150 years ago, 151 years ago, that's when Darwin wrote On the Origin of Species. I read the book. I read the entire book from beginning to end. He compacts that with evidence, and then throughout the succeeding decades, biology gets better, medicine gets better, the discovery of genetics, genes, for God's sakes, and now he's saying that he's poking holes in the evolutionary theory. After 150 years of work, universal consensus, he's poking holes in the theory. With what evidence? Just there's just not a fucking crocoduck or whatever the fuck he says. What a fag. And then Bill O'Reilly comes along and says, yeah, I think, I poked holes in the Big Bang Theory. Where the fuck do you come around saying that? Do you even listen to yourself when you talk?
But then they're going to come back and they're going to say, look, over the course of civilization, there really has never been a demonstrable proof of a deity, and you say?
Oh, but there absolutely is. Like we said, the fact that you can see the complexity of design within the natural world demands that there must be a designer.
See, that logic is false. He's not justifying himself with physical evidence or logic at all. Logic doesn't state just because something's complex, someone had to make it. There are cloud patterns that are very complex because of the different types of air currents and winds that happen at certain altitudes, but no one made them. This is a horrible argument.
Einstein said that. Dawkins has been answered. The fact that a painting proves there must be a painter, 100% absolutely. The human body proves there must be a designer because of its complexity and because of the information we can see down at the DNA level.
It's interesting.
There is
the
no
argument,
other
the argument
explanation.
you're making is interesting. It's along the lines of my argument, because I say, listen, sun goes up, sun goes down, tide comes in, tide comes out. There's no miscommunication. There's a storm, there's regeneration, and it would be a leap of faith far beyond believing in Jesus or Buddha or Allah to think that it just accidentally got that way. So that's where my faith derives from reason, as yours does.
Both of theirs does not derive from reason. Just in case you didn't know. Now,
why do you think, And I heard this happened on Nightline. We talked to some people over there. They got pretty nasty with you guys.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, what did I get myself into? I mean, they were so angry that at the very end of the debate, the lady says, I would, for people who don't believe in God, they're sure pretty angry with him.
Yes, we're angry with him because it's someone who does not exist, and it's been ruling the world since the beginning of civilization for absolutely no reason. Especially today in the 21st century, it has no place here. None whatsoever.
I mean, she said, I'd rather go to hell than to believe in a megalomaniac like God.
Earlier on in the clip, he said it's easier to believe in God and Buddha and Allah, but he doesn't believe in Buddha and Allah. To him it's made up. He thinks it's just God. He doesn't believe in Allah. He's just saying that because he wants to be politically correct, and this is the stupidity that these 60-year-old men have to go through just because there's a bunch of people who agree that there's a stupid being in the sky. Grow up! It's time to grow up.